Well, between some great hilarity and some genuine thrills, Scream Queens perfectly sets up next week's explosive finale. Hey guys, Hammer for Scream Queens, Season 2, Episode 9, Lovin' the D, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode. I've really been enjoying the season, as you guys know, and especially after last week's reveal, I really didn't know where we were going to go from there, because the way last week left off, I thought was very interesting, and I thought this was a really, really great episode. I really did love this episode overall. One of my favorite episodes of Scream Queens so far, without a doubt. What I love about this, one of the things I love about this episode is that everyone really had something to do. There hasn't really been many episodes of Scream Queens this season where every character's been in it, and this episode had every character in it. There wasn't a single character that didn't have a big moment. I thought that there were some really good thrills here, and I thought this was as good as a penultimate episode could have been. I really did love this episode overall, but let's just get right into it, because I really do want to talk about. There is a lot of stuff that happened in this episode, definitely, that I definitely do want to get into, and let's just start right off. So, we see right in the beginning that, the Chanels are being forced to work night shifts, basically, and they don't really think anything of it. They just think that Nurse Hoffel is kind of overworking them, and we see right that Chanel discovers one bed full of swamp goo and another with a mannequin stuck with, dozens of knives, clearly dressed as Chanel, so she knows that something sketchy's going on, and even girls, and even, they're as stupid as they are, they can tell that there's definitely something going on. Like, definitely someone is after them. They know the Green Meanie's there, so they take off running, and right off the bat, a really genuinely thrilling scene. Like, I really didn't know what was going to happen there. I honestly thought that we could lose a Chanel, and they soon encounter 3 Green Meanies, making their hasty retreat nearly impossible, and the only thing working in the Chanel's favor is Cassidy. He's keeping his word to number 3 that he won't kill her or her friends. So Wes and Hoffel do their best to do their worst. Cassidy's doing his best to keep the trio alive, and thanks to the uncoordinated bumbling behavior, they're able to escape. Luckily, we see they're able to escape, but it took a while. Like, you really didn't know what was going to happen there. There was some really good thrills there, but I was actually wrong last week. Wes is, in fact, on the same exact page as Cassidy and Hoffel. They just really haven't worked together until now, we see, so I thought that was definitely interesting to find out. But they all take off their masks, and I like that we realize that they're horrible at their jobs. Like, they can't kill the Chanels. The Chanels are just smarter than them. And like I said, it's not so much that they're bad at what they do. It's because of the Chanels, because the Chanels know what they're doing. They know how to deal with a killer. They've dealt with a killer 2 years ago. They know how to deal with this kind of thing, and they know how to get away from a killer. So the Chanels are kind of just too smart for them, as dumb as they are. But Hester calls a summit, and Hester by far gets everything I've wanted to do this season. Like, everything I've loved about Hester's arc, they did very well in this episode, and I definitely really did enjoy that. But we see Chanel reports the existence of the additional Green Meanie to Nurse Hoffel, who promises to take care of it, but other than that, it's back to business as usual at Cure, so we don't really know what that's all about, but I like the way that Hoffel, again, is still doing a really good job of covering up who she really is. I was thinking by now they would know, but no, she's still doing a really good job, and Kirstie Alley's really killing this character, and I'm definitely interested in seeing if she actually is going to get away with what she wants to get away with, because honestly, at this point, I think she really could. So then we get to the big plot of this episode, which some people might find filler, but I really didn't. I thought it made sense why we had this going on. We see the editor of the Northeast Journal of Medicine, Arthur Amberg, arrives to follow up on his reporter's phone call about all the unethical and bizarre happenings going on at the hospital, because we know that there was that reporter in episode 7, and I thought that they were just completely discontinue that, like that wasn't going to be a big thing, but no, they actually did do something with that here, and I was happy to see that. I was really worried that killing that reporter would mean that they weren't going to do anything, but they actually did. He's also investigating, we see, the whereabouts of Slade Hornborn, because of course he's dead, and he's after learning the Chanels are medical students, he demands to see their undergrad transcripts and MCAT scores, and Munch is left with no choice but to demand the Chanels take the MCATs, which obviously upsets them since they only want to be TV doctors and not real ones. But it's really not bad because they realize that their idol, Dr. Scarlett Loving, who is portrayed by Brooke Shields, who they surprisingly did a good job of hiding her character. See what happens when you don't talk, Ryan Murphy? You actually do something surprising. I knew Brooke Shields was going to be in this season, but I didn't know that she was going to be this character, so that was kind of cool to see. But she plays this daytime TV host extraordinaire, a la Dr. Phil or Dr. Oz or something like that, and She's come to the Institute, and Lovin's producer Lank has also learned about the parasitic twin surgery, and Lovin couldn't wait to meet the people responsible. They talk about how it's the most successful and impressive surgery in like 5 years, and she also wants Holt and the Chanels to perform a surgery on live TV, and Lovin wants them to remove a 16-pound tumor from the face of a man named Garrett's, and it will be the first live surgery in the history of daytime television. So it definitely is a very important task, and Holt is definitely up to it, but he does raise some concerns he has about performing such a complicated surgery, aided by 3 girls who aren't even medical students. Like, he doesn't even try to hide the fact that they're not really medical students. As we know, Munch just kind of made them, Munch just kind of threw them into this, and his revelation obviously upsets Munch, who needs this surgery to get Dr. Amberg off her back, because Amberg is already very suspicious of what's going on. He definitely knows that there's something shady going on, and he definitely does not trust her. So it also causes some trepidation on Dr. Lovin's part, since there could be liability issues, and in order to get their big break, the Chanels agree to take the MCATs immediately, and Dr. Lovin promises that once the girls pass the test, the surgery will in fact move forward. So it really is kind of a win-win situation for everyone, and I really did think this plot was very interesting. Again, like I said, some people might thought it was filler, but I thought it worked pretty well. This entire season has been about trying to keep this hospital open in any way possible, and what I love of this episode is that it shows that Munch will go to even the most extraordinary of measures, some of the most ridiculous ones you could think of. I mean, think about it. This is a doctor who's literally telling them perform a live surgery on TV. That is an absurd task, really. I don't think it's ever been done. There's a reason why it's never been done, and it's because it's impossible to do, really. I mean, anything could go wrong, and the pressure, just everything, it just shouldn't happen. And even though it is such an impossible task, and it is something that obviously isn't the easiest thing to do, Munch is completely up to the task, because she will do literally anything to keep the hospital open. And I think it's something that we see very well here, and something that we are in fact reminded of here that I thought was very well done. But then we get what is by far one of my favorite scenes of this entire season, something that I definitely been waiting for, and that is Hester working with the Green Meanies. Said it. This show does anything, I'm just willing to go with it. Like, okay, fine, yeah, he's her dad. Does it make sense? No, but yeah, I'll go with it. It's fine, honestly. The show can tell me anything, and I'll just go with it, because the show does a really good job of doing that. But Cassie takes credit for Randall, Wolf Lady, I guess Randall did die. I didn't think he did, but I guess he did. Wolf Lady, all the Hamiltons, the victims of an unfortunate game for bobbing of apples, Chanel pour Home, and Chanel's 9 and 11. That was all Cassidy. West took out Sheila, Chamberlain, Chad, so he took out all the major players, and West also poisoned the apple bobbing water and stuck the hatchet in number 5's back. He attacked Denise, and West doesn't technically get credit because she's in the state of suspended animation, as we know. She's not actually dead. But Hoffel wants credit for Chanel number 9 as well. She's also murdered 10, and she murdered Slade. So I like that we kind of know who everyone murdered. It was a very quick way of catching us up on who everyone's murdered, but I thought it was a pretty good scene. But the big question is, who gets to kill the Chanels? Now, we know that Nurse Hoffel wants to be the one to take a stab at them, because she has very personal beef against them for what's going on. But at the same time, so does Wes. Wes wants to take them out for making his daughter go insane. And Cassidy can't be trusted to kill number 3 since he's in love with her, and Wes is happy to let Nurse Hoffel take care of number 5 while he does Chanel, because Chanel's the one that really made his daughter go crazy. But Hoffel wants Chanel all to herself. After all, she was the one who did kill Miss Bean and stick her face in the fryer. So obviously she wants to be the one to kill Chanel, and Wes is willing to trade all the other Chanels and Dean Munch so he can just kill Chanel. So we learned that they do in fact plan on murdering Munch, which I don't really know why. I guess it's just to ruin the hospital, but he holds personally responsible, as you know, for driving Grace insane. In the end, Hawful is deciding that she's going to be the one to kill Chanel, so Wes will finish off the remaining Chanels, Andy Munch, and Cassidy has to seal the deal with number 3. And seal the deal, he has to kill her. Like, there really is no choice. He has to kill her, and it's a very interesting, compelling plotline that we had here with Cassidy unwilling to kill number 3. I like that we're going through this, that he doesn't really want to kill her. He's sticking with what she's doing. But like I said, this was a very well-earned scene. This is something I've been waiting for all season long. I really like that we got there. I think they caught us up very well in everything that was going on. There was a lot of information presented in this scene, but it was a very well-deserved one. It was a scene that we definitely really needed, and by far one of my favorite scenes the show has done. Just so funny, so informative, and just really did a great job of showing these characters' motives, showing why they've done what they've done, showing how they've worked together, and really showing how, in general, all of them really have different motives, but are all really coming together for the same motive, which, of course, is to, destroy the hospital. So Holt's trying to prep Chanel for the MCATs, but she knows there's no way she can possibly pass without cheating, so she suggests that Holt figure out a way to help her accomplish the task, and Holt begins choking Chanel just randomly, and she's able to fight him off, and again, they came back to this, which I was happy about, because they weren't talking about it in the last episode, but Holt explains that some donor tissue might still be left in his new hand. It's impossible to get clean edges, but Chanel points out that Holt was choking her with both hands, and he runs out of the room, so again, there's obviously something going on here. You can kind of tell that Holt does kind of want to kill Chanel. As we know, he's kind of tired of her, but Chanel runs into Hawful and tells her that Holt tried to kill her, and Hawful wonders if Chanel has ever had the time to examine why so many people want her dead, and Chanel answers truthfully that she hasn't, and Chanel's main concern is that she may have to break up with Holt, which means he won't help her cheat her way through the MCATs, because obviously she's terrified of him, and that of course means no appearance on Dr. Lovin's show. So Chanel's still shallow as ever, that's just who she is, but with her big dream dastardly, Chanel doesn't see any reason to stay at Cure, and worried that Chanel will leave before she can kill her, Hawful offers Chanel an inside tip for passing the MCAT, which is that the answer is always B. And again, the genius in Hawful, the way that she's making herself seem like an ally to Chanel, and that she says she sees all this potential in her, and that she sees a future for her as a doctor, even goes as far as to say that she understands why she murdered Miss Bean. Like, she goes so far to praise Chanel, when in reality, she just wants her dead. And it's great to see Kirstie Alley is doing such a great job as this character, and especially, since we know what her motive is, just every scene with Chanel is so much more funnier now, because you know more what's going on there. I think definitely they've done a very good job with that, but Holt decides to go to Hester for advice, surprisingly, but he confides in her that though he's no longer has the hand of a serial killer, he still really has this urge to kill Chanel. He doesn't know what it's all about, but Hester believes that there are 3 possibilities for this. 1, that the second donor hand was also the hand of a serial killer, which is very possible. I think that definitely could be what's going on. In fact, we've kind of talked about this, but 2, Chanel's a terrible person. The more time that Holt spends with her, the more he realizes that she needs to die because, she's terrible. And 3, it was never about that hand, and that ending lives just as much as Holt's true nature as saving them. That Holt, in reality, really wants to kill her. That it's not just his hand. And Hester takes the opportunity to convince Holt that he needs to be with a woman who shares his taste for murder. She managed to seduce him on the body of a patient who Hester believes is dead, which that was really fucked up, but again, really ballsy. Scream Queen's doing some stuff that's very, very ballsy, and I really appreciate them for that. And having sex in the body of a corpse, I mean, we've seen it before, but still, very well done. And the woman that we see is actually just sleeping, which is pretty funny that she actually wasn't dead. Like, she heard everything that was going on. I thought that was really funny. Very unexpected pairing between Hester and Holt, but honestly, I really do believe it. I can understand why these two would like each other. I think Hester is exactly the kind of person that Holt should be with. It's someone who can really help Holt with what he wants to do. It's someone that's going to help him control what he needs, and honestly, I'm kind of rooting for these two to be endgame. I feel like they're setting them up to be a couple for season 3, and I'm all for it if that's the direction we're headed. So, Chanel number 7 is blurred to her death by a plate of snickerdoodle cookies. Kind of a funny death, definitely. Very funny death the way it was done. I didn't really care about number 7. Again, the only complaint this season so far is I don't really care about the other Chanels, but I feel like they were supposed to be irrelevant anyway. But number 5 discovers her body in the hallway. Her screams bring Munch and Dr. Amberg running. Now, Amberg once called the police, but Dean Munch tells him that number 7 had Marfan syndrome and likely died from natural causes, that it had nothing to do with her being strangled. And when he questions the marks around her neck that she was strangled, Munch suffers a fainting spell, which diverts Amberg's attention. Number 5 is left to dispose of 7's body in the special morgue, which of course is the swamp. And the amount of bodies that are in that swamp right now is just ridiculous to think about. Think of the amount of bodies they have put in that swamp. I mean, it's crazy, but Amberg helps Munch back to her office, and Weston approaches Cassie to discuss Nurse Hoffel, and West tells Cassie that Nurse Hoffel is likely to try to frame one of them for the murders once the hospital is closed, and with Cassidy's mom being Jane, he's Hoffel's most likely target, and that's the one that Hoffel probably wants to take out, because again, of his open refusal to go against her mission, again, his mission is completely separate from theirs, Wes is all about getting rid of Chanel because he made his daughter go insane. Hoffel's all about avenging her sister's death, while Cassidy's is a completely separate mission that's about closing down the hospital, which is not really something that Wes and Hoffel are really all that into. They just kind of want to do it for their own satisfaction, which you completely understand why they want to do. But he wants forge alliance with Cassie, and he gets to kill Chanel before Hoffel ever does, which this I found very interesting where this is going, and Cassie backs him up, says that they pinned the whole thing on the deranged nurse, and Cassidy actually does agree that he thinks the right thing to do, so I thought that was definitely interesting to see, and where's his head? I don't really know, but we then get this really great scene with Jane, where she's still holding Zayde prisoner. It's the only scene we see of Zayde, but throughout the entire episode, no one seems to realize that Zayde's gone. We'll get to that at the end, but she's convinced that one of her friends will come for her, but Jane says that according to her son, they haven't even realized that Zayde's missing. Cassie comes home, Zayde recognizes his voice, and immediately realizes that Cassie is the baby in the belly, which the way she realized that was very subtle, and I love the way that was done. She begins yelling for help, but Jane has her tucked away in the cell under her bed. Her screams can't be heard, and, I mean, this is even worse for Zayde. Like, before, there was at least a rescue party going on, like, someone wanted to save Zayde, but at this point, no one really has a connection to her, no one really wants to save her, so I really don't know if Zayde's going to get out of this one, I have to say. I honestly don't know. But we then get this great scene where Jane emerges to find Cassidy with number 3. And number 3's convinced Cassidy if he wants to be her boyfriend, he has to stop killing and stand up to his mother. And he warns number 3 that his mother can be very possessive, but she insists on being her anyway. And immediately, she wants nothing to do with number 3. She isn't impressed, and basically, I like that Cassie's telling her, look, you need to get to know her, don't just look at her as someone we need to kill, you need to get to know her, and she also warns number 3 that if she came over to try and convince her to stop murdering people and start shutting down the hospital, she is in fact wasting her time, because that's just simply not going to happen. And number 3 then points to the logic fail of trying to shut down a hospital that's actually curing people. Nobody that worked the hospital when Jane's husband died is still there. So what Jane's really mad is at architecture and geography, which is very true. I mean, most of what she's upset about, no one's really there for, but number 3 thinks they should ask Cassidy what he wants, and he actually does side with his mother. So the fact that he is in fact taking his mother's side over number 3 is very sad to see, because you can tell he very much cares for number 3, but at the same time he's kind of outnumbered. There's not really much he can do here. This is something that he has been tasked to do since he's been born. She's fashioned him to be the killer, to go after this hospital and close it down for good. The one thing that she can't really do on her own, she needs her son to do, and the fact that he's sighing over her is very sad to see, and it's this level of deepness that Scream Queens hasn't really done before, but I really am liking that with the season. The season's been very character-driven, and this is a great example of that, and I really did love the way this scene was done. One of my favorite scenes, I think, in this season so far. I really did love the way that scene was done there. Just Cassidy's look, you can tell he really doesn't want to do it, but he has to do it. He knows that this isn't really what he wants to do, but it's kind of what he has to do. It's very sad to see. I like the direction that's going on. It's going to be very sad, but I think we're probably going to end next week with number 3 most likely being dead. So word is leaked to the competition that Dr. Lovin's planning to air live surgery. They have to bump up the dates, and the Chanels learn they have to take the MCATs immediately. So all 3 passed with flying colors, and I was surprised to learn that number 5 got the highest score, but she did, and Munson questions how this is possible. Chanel actually tells her that they cheated, like openly says that, and she and number 3 actually had earpieces, and Holt and Cassie supplied the answers. This comes as news to number 5, who actually managed to ace the test on her own, which I thought that was pretty funny to see. I mean, out of all people, number 5, I don't know know why Ryan Murphy does this a lot, but he likes to take characters that are relatively dumb and make them really good at tests and things like that, like he did with Brittany on Glee, and now he's done with number 5 on Scream Queens. Does it make sense? No, but on Glee it mattered. On Scream Queens it doesn't really matter. There really is no logical sense in this show, and I'm fine with that, really, but I thought that was pretty funny to see. The crew Lovin the D descend on the hospital. Also sulking around is Wes, who decides to poison Chanel's coffee, but in the midst of all the chaos, Dr. Lovin actually downs the drink instead, which I will admit that was a little bit predictable. I expected her to die in this episode, but I didn't expect her to die this fast. The TV icon dies on the spot just before airtime, but the show must go on, so they have to perform the surgery, and Chanel makes the most of her time in the spotlight. She's got the it factor. She tries to tell them that, Lovin's dead, and Lank offers the Chanel's Dr. Lovin's job permanently. The talk show host was such a horrible boss that nobody's even surprised she got poisoned, and the good fortune comes as bad news, so they're trying to kill them. So basically, they're possibly going to go on the show, but then we see Hoffel. She confronts Wes about violating the terms set forth at the Green Meanie Summit. There's so much attention on the hospital right now that it's getting hard to kill, so Hoffel and Cassie let Wes know they've come with another plan. They need to deliver a dead Green Meanie because, they need to find a way to extract what they're doing. This will lure everyone to a false sense of security, think that their Green Meanie is dead, because remember, they only think there was one Green Meanie when there's actually 3, allowing for one final orgy of mayhem and murder, which is actually a very well thought out plan. However, Wes realizes in this moment that they're actually planning to kill him, so he literally throws himself into a tube full of boiling peanut oil, probably one of the most brutal deaths we've had, and just hearing his screams of agony, I mean, it was kind of hard to watch. As much as I didn't like Wes, I like that they brought him back for this season, and I thought what they did with him in these 2 episodes was good. I get why they didn't want to keep him around. There really wasn't much else they could do with him. He was becoming a problem, and I like that right now. I did like that they actually did kill him. I thought that was interesting to see. It was kind of an unexpected twist. I wasn't expecting it, and I thought that was well done. So Munch managed to clean up Cure enough that Dr. Amberg believes the hospital to be legit, and the two come across Wes's body just as Amberg is about to leave, and Munch faints once again. I'll explain the other reason why I really liked Wes's death in a second, but she does in fact faint, and finally she has to admit the truth, because she's surrounded by all the staff, the Chanel. She learns that number 5 has finally figured out that Zayday's missing, and the hospital passed Amberg's inspection with flying colors, especially now the Green Meanie's dead. So they can still stay open, but Holt wants to run more tests on Munch, so she has no choice but to divulge that she has Carew, and she'll be dead in a month, and now basically she has to come forward with the fact that she is in fact going to die, and that is the way this episode ends. Really great stuff overall. Let's just get in this episode where I think we're going to go in the finale. So wow, really, a lot of stuff happened in this episode, like I said. I think it's probably one of the most substantial episodes we've had this season so far, but I like that. I like that a lot is going on. I think this show is best when a lot is going on. Not that I don't like when stuff is going on. I like the episode that was Holden Cassidy. I thought it was well done overall, but this show really is best when there's so much going on for every character to do, and that's something I thought this episode did really, really well. Let's first talk about what's going to happen with Nurse Hoffel and Cassidy, because now that Wes is dead, I'm happy that he's dead, because I've said it many times, I think Wes should have died way earlier in Season 1. Wes should have died in the first half of Season 1. I don't really know why he stayed on as long as he did. He never really served a true purpose other than to hook up with Dean Munch. And yeah, he had a really cool storyline here, but this really does make up for him not dying in Season 1. I mean, he was one of those characters that was just dead weight. I don't know why he was really there, but I like that he died here. I thought he had a good motive overall. They redeemed his character. They gave him some good stuff to do, and I get why Nurse Hoffel and Cassie had to kill him. He wasn't on their side. He wasn't on the same level as them, and he really wasn't really with them. As much as I think he was with Cassie, he would kill Cassie if he had to. So I like that Hoffel and Cassie are going out on their own. I like the direction that that's in. And I like the way they're making everyone think that the Green Meanie's dead, when in reality the Green Meanie is not. And we see there's going to be a bomb next week, which is insane. So I don't really know what their long-term plan is, because they clearly do have more in store, obviously, but I don't really know what that's about. So I think that's going to be very interesting. The big question is Cassidy. I really love where Cassidy is headed. The fact that he has to kill number 3 and listen to his mother's word, or is he going to go against it, kill his mother, and then go with number 3? I think either way, that's the only, either he's going to kill number 3, he's going to kill his mother. There really is no third option. One of them are going to die. I mean, he can't just choose both of them. That's not how this works. Either kills number 3 or he kills his mother. Which one he's going to do, I don't know, but I'm very interested in seeing where that's going to go because, again, it's this level of deep character that we don't really get in the show, and I like that we're getting that here. I think it's interesting overall where that's going. Holt and Hester, very unexpected pairing, but honestly, I'm all for it. I'm looking forward to seeing where these two are going to go. I think they're definitely going to make them endgame, and I don't think that either of them are going to die. I don't see Holt in danger. I don't see Hester in danger. Holt has been a fan favorite character all season, so I don't see him dying. John Stamos doesn't really have any other stuff to do, so I hope for his sake that he stays here, and Hester as well. I love Leah Michelle's character. I hope that she stays on, so we'll have to see. And then Munch having Carew, I like where this is going. I like that we have one more cure, and that is that Holt has to save Munch. I think that's going to be very interesting where that's going to go, because, he thinks he might have the cure for it, but we don't really know what's going to happen there. I think that's very interesting. Chanel's going to find... Now, there doesn't seem to be that affair going on with Munch and Holt. I guess he just kind of stopped that. I guess he's with Hester now, but again, I don't really know. We'll have to see. I guess there's 3 affairs going on now. But someone's going to find out about the other. I think it's going to be quite funny the way that turns out, so that's definitely going to be interesting. And then I guess the only other question is what's going to happen with Denise, because we know Denise is going to come back somehow. It looks like in the promo she does come back, so how are they going to get her back? Are they going to save her? We don't really know. And then Zayday, is anyone going to free Zayday? Because I really don't think she's going to get out of this one. I mean, she doesn't have a Grace in this situation. There is no Grace in this. Grace, who cared so much about Zayday and just wanted to free everyone and was the goody good and did nothing wrong. There is not that character in this situation. Zayday is that character. The Chanel certainly don't really care. Chanel number 5 knows she's there, but I don't know if they're going to save her. Hester for sure doesn't give a shit. Holt, Cassie, none of them really care. So I really don't know if they're going to save Zayday. I think, honestly, she might die in this situation, but I don't really know. Again, Zayday is a character I think that should have died last year. I think she's been great this season, really, but I do think that she should have died last year. I really do. I've always felt like this season she's fit in really well, but last season she kind of stuck out like a sore thumb, and I really didn't know the point of her, but this season she's definitely stuck out very well. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this is going to go. Overall, guys, can't wait for the finale. This was a perfect way, I think, of setting up the finale. So much great stuff going on in this episode. I really did love this one overall. But let me know what you guys saw this episode. Love your thoughts on it. Do you like where the season is headed? I can't wait to see what happens in the finale. I don't know if the show's going to be renewed. I really am worried it's not going to be, but hopefully, just like last year, they conclude it where they can end it there and not have to do a season 3, but if they did a season 3, they can still leave it open. Hopefully, they do something like that, but again, I don't really know. We'll have to see. That's for this video. Hope you guys enjoy it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for a movie review, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.